So does anybody has a specific question that wants to talk about?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Sure.
So where I work, I don't get the weeks upon weeks to get through a shot. Like I will be given maybe about a week or something. So give an example, I did a VR simulator ride, and I was given probably maybe 3 weeks to do about 40 seconds worth of multiple characters, animation, all quite high, like big action sequences sort of thing. And I knew at the end of it, it wasn't the greatest because obviously time limit sort of thing. What would you recommend? So I know you were saying about to improve posing, just doing like 3 months of just posing. But for something like where you don't have the amount of time, what's the best way to probably improve like speed so I can go back and go? Or would you recommend going like just focusing on one of the big shots and then going back sort of thing?
Okay, I
If that
think we're
makes
talking
sense.
about, yes, it makes sense. And it's a general question that's very common in a lot of people who is working in the industry. Overall, for people who is working in those kind of projects where everything is super fast paced, like TV series, advertising, VR as well these days.
Yeah.
And I think it's important first to recognize that we're talking about two different things. One is work. One is the project that you're working on, and another different thing is to learn. And in my experience, in my understanding, it's very difficult to learn as we work, or another way to say, it's very difficult to have, or it's rare to work in an environment that gives you the opportunities to grow and to learn new things overall, because as you say, most of the time, everything that comes with the project is tricky. Sometimes we have very tight deadlines. Sometimes the people who is around us is not, let's say, flexible enough. Sometimes the direction that are coming from somebody else are very strict and are very closed. So you cannot, there's no room for you for exploring. And when it comes to learning and to improving any kind of art, time and flexibility and freedom is key. If you don't have time for exploring things and time for really yourself understanding what you need to improve and how you need to improve, is very difficult. Because what you may consider about improving and learning may be different for me and may be different for any other person, because this is an art, right? Mm-hmm. So what you consider good and what I consider good and what that person considers good is going to be different. So first you need to recognize what you consider that is good, and you have to improve in your own vision. That is what is going to make you improve. Okay. So that's the other limitation that you have when you're working for somebody else. There is no way that you can improve in your vision of what means to improving when you're working for somebody else. So we're talking about a lot of limiting factors that are keeping you down all the time. So that being said, I think that you should, if you really want to improve a certain things, you have to understand that you need a different, let's say, experience in order to improve. Meaning, don't expect to improve in the work. You have to do it by your own. You have to find yourself a way to create personal projects or to put time aside in order to work the way you need to work, because that's the best way to learn. And that's actually my impression is the only way to learn. which is under your own terms, and really understanding what's the process that you need to navigate the, let's say, this particular art, which is animation. It's one of the things that I don't like, that has been happening a lot with, Animation Mentor, Anime School, is that they've been giving this false impression that you grow as an animator as you grow as professional. That's not correct.
Mm-hmm.
First, you need to be a good creative person, and you need to be a good animator, and then professionality, or your professional side, it feeds from that. That the other way is kind of like very difficult. It's very, very difficult. And not only that, if you grow as professional, or if you make your creativity and your capacities improve based on what your professional it is, you know what is going to happen? It's going to happen that after 5-6 years, you're going to burn out, because you've been putting all your efforts to satisfy other people's expectations and other people' creative point of view. And that just creates burnout, which is a big conversation, and it happens so many times. So if you really want to improve, Mark, my recommendation is that understand that you should have, let's say, 2 different workspaces. And you have to understand that those 2 different workspaces have different focus. You have your professional workspace, which is professional, which means money making, which is giving you what you need, which is working for somebody else, which is understanding directions and doing what they need to do. And then you have your personal workspace, which is just for you, which is for learning, which is for improving, that is for satisfying your internal creative satisfaction. Once that you have that clearly divided and you understand that, the idea is that little by little you start to bring a relationship in between the two of them. But first, this one, the personal workspace, have to be rich and have to be strong and have to be happy. If you don't have your personal workspace happy enough, it's very, very, very difficult that you start to make good poses with the time that you have and all that. So that's why many times what I say is that if you're working in a situation that, or your work situation is taking over everything, and you don't even have the capacity to have like a personal workspace, I always think that you're probably not in a good place working, because it's taking over everything, and probably what is going to happen that in 5 years, if not earlier, you're going to explode, right? So see if that is possible, see if you can do something else. And if you think that you're in a good workspace, and if you think that in your workspace they hear you, they listen to you, you can have somehow gain some time to create that personal workspace, and it's a good place that you see that is nourishing somehow. Good, stay in that place. Understand that what are you doing is you're doing work there, you're working, you're delivering, you're being a professional. Do that part the best as you can, and then change workspace, go back home, or the way you want to set up that personal workspace, and start working just for yourself in your personal workspace.
Right. No, that literally hits everything on the head there. Everything you just said, everything to a T. No, thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Cheers.
Any other quick question? I think it would be ideal to watch Miguel thing, but if there is any other question. Let's watch this. Miguel, I think you are also the first time that you are in this session with us. Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us.
So I'm off working in Vancouver. been doing a TV show since for about 6 years.
Okay.
And I'm just here to improve my performance in acting because from working on preschool shows, I never got to really up my quality, as in like higher performance. And so with this shot, I'm trying to go with the Monsters Inc. Pixar style. Right now I'm blocking and still blocking because of the time constraint and just putting in hours few times a day. And the audio, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, improving. How happy you feel about all this?
I mean, I like where it's going. I just want to see like how much can I push it. It's very subtle. It's not too cartoony. Pose within the pose. Yeah. I just kind of been looking at it for way too long now.
Okay, you're a little lost. Okay, let's have a look. See how it goes.
Nah, I'm not into evil and torture and all that stuff. Plus, the Prince of Darkness should have sort of a distinguished look to him, and let's face facts, I'm no George Clooney.
No, I can see that.
Audio's off.
Can you hear it?
Yeah. Is the audio syncing or not?
I think, I don't know. Do you feel like you're not syncing?
No.
Sometimes depends, depends on the bandwidth, or sometimes you may receive it a little bit late than I do.
Oh, okay.
But I've seen it good. I've seen it good. But I see what you mean. I think that what is happening is mainly acting skills. I can see that you know the drills, you know how to animate. Let's say technically speaking, skill sets in the animation part of things, like visually speaking, they look good. But you're definitely falling into cliches. Please don't play it. You're falling into cliches.
Yeah.
You're falling into dullness. And that's okay. I mean, I always say that one of the most difficult things that for an animator to improve is their acting skills, because we're talking about a completely different craft, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like the same thing that we talked before with Kishore. When it comes to learning one thing, when it comes to improving one thing, one particular thing, if you go and do like a whole shot, you're going to be wasting your time in improving that aspect. Because there's like a lot of things. So in this particular case, what are we seeing is that acting wise, you need to improve, right? You need to get that same level. And you're also saying that, right? It's like, I need to go somewhere else with my acting choices, right? It's not, I'm not going anywhere with where I am, right? So that means that my recommendation for you is go just to act, okay? There is so many ways that you can explore acting, okay? That you can just, and by acting, I mean real acting, performing yourself with your own body, with your own, if it's watching people or not, people watching you or not, whatever you want to do, there's many ways. We even have a improv class coming up pretty soon. Actually, I think it's starting in the next couple of weeks. That is precisely for that. If you like improv, this is a good way that can explore it. If not, I would say go for any kind of acting classes that you feel comfortable exploring. I myself, I recommend improv, and I'm not saying this to sell our course. I'm just saying that in general, improv, I like it. Yeah. Improv and clowning, I like it because what's important for an animator, and the best way I think that for an animator can improve their acting is by recognizing their genuine way of being, their honestly way of acting out. The problem that animators happen sometimes when they're acting out and performing is that they try to become something else. They try to fake. They try to be a character cartoon. And that's where problems starts, right? It's very difficult to really mentally become something else. the best way, which is, I don't know if you watched The Method, there's a video that we have in the Essence.
Yeah.
It's basically that. It's a way of being yourself, being natural, and adapting your natural way of acting out to what is the audio that you have.
It's very true. I was trying to, like, exactly what you said. I was faking becoming this character. I wasn't really feeling it. I just wanted, like, I felt I was rushing it, to be honest. I rushed being the character, and I didn't get a good performance, so everything just became generic.
Right.
And I see it.
Yeah, that's something that you have to see. I can see the logo on Nerdcorps. So I can see that if you've been working with, that is not Nerdcorps anymore, but I know.
Yeah, I'm at Walk right now, so it's still the pose to pose breakdown, and I'm just trying to get away from that.
Yeah. So for that, my recommendation is, first, you have to be aware of that. Like, okay, you are just fast. So my recommendation is always for people that with your experience that has this kind of, you need to break that habit of working fast, of doing everything for just a day, is scheduling. Plan mentally, and by scheduling I mean mentally. So for example, let's say that you have a shot. Okay. And if you have a shot that generally when you're working in Nerdcorps, let's say, you have, let's say, 5 seconds. So let's say that in 5 seconds, and you have, I don't know, in 5 seconds, they will give you in Nerdcorps on this kind of rhythm, they will give you a week. I have the impression that now probably you have to have 5 seconds, have to be done maybe in 3 days, maybe, or 3 days for 5 seconds, right? So if you know that generally you have 3 days, let's say 3 days to do a 5-second shot, my recommendation is that go to your notebook and do a schedule that is like this, for example. So let's say that you can do this shot in 2 weeks, and you say to yourself, okay, 2 weeks for doing a shot of 5 seconds, and you plan it. So your mind is the one that is going to help you to slow down. So you plan your workflow, and you put the discipline of sticking into the process. So you know that you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the weekend. The weekend we don't work because resting is very important. So you say, okay, I have 5 seconds. I know more or less, let's say, what are your workflow. I'm gonna assume that you have a generic workflow. You have planning.
Yeah.
You have first blocking pass or rough blocking. I'm gonna assume that you have work in progress, for example, polish, and why not clean up? Oh no, let's leave it just in polish. Okay, so 4 stages.
Okay.
So we have in total is 10 days, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's say that we give 2 days each, or 2 days and each, and we have a little bit of a buffer, because it's always good to leave some time for a buffer. Overall, if your goal is to go for feature and to improve, it's always good for feature, to have some buffer. So let's say, okay, first 2 days, planning, and you don't do anything in the first 2 days, but just planning it, like thinking about it, video referencing, thumbnailing, and you stick to the process. Okay, just planning. Once that you've done with planning and you have taken decisions, second day, okay, second phase, I'm gonna do 2 days. Me personally, I know that, for example, blocking is the one that I take more time. So maybe I would give 3 days to blocking, first rough blocking, okay? So first blocking pass, the next 3 days, okay? And then the next one would be work in progress, the next 2 days, okay? And then the next 2 days for polishing, okay? And then I have 1 day for buffer because anything can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good way for you to put yourself in the situation of not rushing out and then starting to get into that rhythm. Okay, I have to slow down.
Yeah.
So you have a little bit of both things happening. You need to improve your acting skills, which, as I say, I recommend to just do that somehow.
Yeah.
At least 3 months. Spend 3 months really going into acting, putting yourself out there and say, okay, how can I go into a new direction with acting?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, when you go jump into a shot, again, don't go for something too long. 300 maybe is a little too long.
Okay.
Go for something in between 5 seconds. Yeah, 5 seconds I think is a good way to start. Overall, if you want to get into more fine kind of animation, 5 seconds is already a lot of work.
Okay.
And do a system of planification and scheduling that helps you to dilate more the time, to take more time and all that. Because try to also enjoy. Sometimes what happens is that we don't get good things because we don't enjoy what are we animating.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are in pressure, we are rushing, that's a very difficult way to enjoy the process itself. So slow down, try to enjoy, have fun. And that usually that transpires into the work that you do.
Okay. Awesome. I'll definitely do that.
Cool, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good luck.